Tom Reed joins us right now, Republican Congressman, House Ways and Means Committee member. Congressman, how do you feel about including this this health care provision, the mandatory coverage, within a tax cut measure that already has pretty close iffy support? What do you think?
Well, you know, obviously that's up to the Senate at this point in time, and the Senate can deliver on that. We'll have to take a look at that in the House. But, you know, I was glad we didn't move into the healthcare domain in the House deliberations, and we focused on tax reform and showing that we can do it and deliver that relief to hardworking Americans back at home.
Are you concerned then that if they do aggressively push this in the Senate, they're risking torpedoing the progress you guys have made on tax cuts?
Not necessarily, because if you recall, we in the House passed a repeal of the Affordable Care Act, Obamacare, and the individual mandate is clearly something I don't support and many fellow Republicans don't support and could stand for the repeal. But let's just see what the Senate does, because we've talked about this quite at length, and the Senate just hasn't been able to deliver the votes on that issue.
Congressman, you come from a high-tax state, and obviously residents in your state, as things stand now, would not be able to write off their state local sales taxes and the like. There is a provision in the House measure that allows for up to $10,000 in mortgage taxes to be written off. But I'm wondering how you feel about a Senate plan that doesn't even allow for that.
Well, you know, I saw this coming, and that's where, you know, when the Senate put the marker out last week, it's consistent where they've been on this issue for about a year. They want the complete elimination of state and local tax deduction, and that's just not suitable for us in New York State. That's why I fought hard for the compromise position on the property taxes being included in the deductions going forward. Because you got to remember, property taxes are very regressive, and they hit people regardless of income. And so we got high property taxes in our part of the state, and to give them that relief is something I wanted to deliver for them, and I'm glad to see that we're putting that in the House bill and put a position down that that's not going to be acceptable to completely eliminate it in the Senate.
So if the Senate still pushes its measure, where not even that is part of their package, would you vote against it?
Yeah, I can't support the complete elimination of state and local tax deduction. I think a compromise here is ripe, and you've heard our chairman on the Ways and Means Committee, Kevin Brady, stand with us and say, you know what, this compromise is reasonable, and it is something we're going to fight for as we go through the differences between the Senate bill and the House.
All right, now they have more tax rates than you do, 70 or 4. What do you think of that?
You know, I'd rather see us condense the brackets down to our 4, because also you got to remember how the brackets work. The lower income, for example, $0 to $90,000 would be subject to that low rate of 12%. And the more income you can expose to that lower rate, the more savings you're going to have for hardworking people back home. So hopefully they'll go our way on that issue, but we'll have to consider their differences as we go through the conference committee and get to a finished product.
You know, it's the Senate. I know, sir, but if you'll just indulge me, the Roy Moore situation, it's about split among some of your colleagues in the House and the Senate Republican. I'm talking about as to whether he should step down from the race. His name will already be on the ballot regardless. How do you feel about it?
Well, you know, obviously these allegations are very concerning, and I do find them credible watching these women report these incidences. And I'm going to leave it to the wisdom of the people of Alabama, but I think Roy Moore should really consider doing what's right for the country and doing what's right for the future, and maybe step aside and let an election take a different course.